Hello again, my dear seeds of Silvertree. Welcome to Runes of Silvertree. May this message find you well and whole. So the title of this message is How the Land Shapes Us. How the Land Shapes Us. Now, I'm going to get a little personal here. I recently relocated from the Southwest. Okay, it's a very, very different climate, different atmosphere, different energy. And I spent about 5 years there in the state of Arizona and New Mexico. I was surrounded by mountains and, cacti, different desert flowers, animals, scorpions, rattlesnakes, all kinds of spiders, goat heads. Those of you who don't know what goat heads are, they are a type of thorn, and they literally look like this. And if you're outside barefoot, they can be incredibly painful. And if you're wearing very thin-soled shoes, they'll actually go through your shoe. You bring them inside your home, and you take off your shoes, and then, or you walking around your shoes, and then they end up on your carpet. You take your shoes off, and you end up sticking your heel in them. So it's very different type of environment. And so I moved out to the desert in 2016, and it was the fall. Late fall of 2016. And I was moving from the Midwest. So, I lived in an area where in the Midwest it's very green. It rains a lot. The weather's very temperamental. There's trees. It's different. The Midwest it's a very different setup. It's farmland. Everything is very lush and green and healthy and abundant and prosperous. And then you have the winter where it's completely dead. It seems dead. There's this white blanket we call snow, and it covers everything. And you're pushed indoors. You're pushed to go within. You're pushed to go within the dark spaces of yourself. The nights are longer. The overcasts are heavier. It's very different type of space. And in the spring and summer, you go out and you're excited. You want to go on hikes and hang about in the trees and plant your herbs and pick from the gardens. And then, on the flip side, in this beautiful, wonderful feminine energy, you have, the ticks, you have mosquitoes, nature's little vampires, right? You have poison oak, you have poison ivy, you have nettles, you have things, you brush up against the green and you're thinking you're fine, and the next few hours you're covered in boils and rashes. So it's each in different, it's both of these worlds, both of these spaces are incredibly different. To me, the north represents the feminine. It's a very feminine energy, and the south represents a very masculine energy, and both embody each other. There's something, during the winter months, it's incredibly harsh. It's death is in your face. Here in the north, it shifts into this very dark, quiet, reflective, feminine type energy. And in the south, everything is exposed by the increase of heat and warmth and sunlight. You're exposed. All the things that you typically would hide away and harvest and keep within during the fall and winter months up north, and down south in the desert, everything is exposed to the wind, the harsh desert winds. In New Mexico, in the red rock the red rock energy in Arizona near the Sedona area. It just holds, it collects all this sunlight for thousands and thousands of years, just collecting it. And when you sit in that vortex and you just take it in, and it just heals and uplifts you, the temperatures rise above 120 degrees at times in Arizona, right? It's predominantly very outside of nature. You go into the city, it's concrete jungle all the way. So it collects as heat, and then you have the heat coming off from the AC that everyone has in their home. It just collects and collects and collects, and then at night, you're thinking you might get a relief. Oh no, you don't. All of that heat and that concrete is released back into the space, right? So it's very interesting. It took my body about 3 months or so to adjust to the desert when I first moved out there. And then in New Mexico, I moved to a space where it was 7,000 feet above sea level. And it took about 2 weeks. The first 4 days, I was out cold. Your blood changes and shifts. The blood begins to thin, right? It begins to thin, and because you're not taking in as much oxygen at that level, so it affects you and it changes you, and then after a couple of weeks, your body begins to adjust and you're fine. It's so interesting how the land manipulates us. And it shifts us. We think as mankind and womankind, as humankind, that we, with all of our, pollution, we're polluting our seas, our waters, our air, our farmland, our, everything, right? We think that we're destroying her. But in my personal feeling, intuitively, all mother has to do, I call her the mother, the land. All she has to do is sneeze or scratch her back, and we're gone. Really. That's all she has to do. We get up in arms about, oh my gosh, we need to save the planet. Look at what we're doing. Can you imagine how old she is? We are infants. We are, oh my gosh, we're young. This earth, what we call earth, this realm is old, ancient. It's been here longer than time, the concept of time. Right? I just find it so funny. We're so up in arms about trying to save, what will happen to our species, if we continue down this path, which, it can, to me, either you're in a space of optimism or pessimism, or both. I kind of go in between a lot of the time, because I can see what source, shows me. I can see the potential of what is to come on a conscious, level, on a spiritual, energetic level, even with our evolution as a species. And pessimistic, and the other path that we can take, well, it's not looking too great. But I pulled this rune here. Okay? This is called my frequency rune. The energy of 7. You have one dominant frequency there. Okay? And that's you. This is you. This is us. This is we. This is the collective. And this is the frequency that's supporting us. We think, especially in American culture, in Western culture, we think we're all alone. We are independent. We are your own person. I'm my own person. I work hard. I, me, mine, right? But if you're sensitive, which there are many, many, many sensitives out there, the human, speed, the collective, we're going through through shifts in this century. Yes, I said century. Okay. But we are manipulated by the unseen frequencies of the land. The land holds an intellect that you cannot find in a book. Humankind, we've done okay. We've done, I think, great things to help classify, organize, symbolize, label, so we can understand it on a very logical, rational, analytical way. I think that that's very important. We need that organization with chaos, But the trees and nature and the earth that you walk on, whether it's grass or pavement, holds a certain kind of intelligence you can't find on Google. You can't find in your most spiritualist of texts or scrolls or ancient scrolls. It's something that you have to initiate and to connect with. Just you. Just you. You have to make that choice to stick your feet in the grass, your hands on the tree, right? You have to make that decision. The land shapes us in ways that some of us are aware. I'm aware of it, and to a certain extent, not all the time. I have, iPhone, I don't want to call it a smartphone, an iPhone. I have, surrounded by Wi-Fi. I use technology at work. I use technology a lot. But in those moments where I shut off my phone and I detach myself from the synthetic world and I go into the organic one, I can hear her. The land speaks if you choose to listen. The land is manipulating us, and we are manipulating the land. Right? It goes hand in hand. The land manipulates us through the very ground that we walk on. For instance, right, human beings, we do this thing where we'll go and we'll say, we'll fight someone for the land. I mean, a few years ago, or hundreds of years ago, we fought over land by, killing other human beings for it, claiming it to be our own, right? We spill sacrificial blood and we take the land by force. I mean, even to this day in the Middle East with Palestine and Israel, right? The land, the land, the land. This is my land, mine, mine, mine. Man, humans, we are very possessive. Very, very, very possessive. But that's what happens. We have to remind ourselves that if I were to go out and buy 2, 5, 10 acres of land, I would be a caretaker of that land. I wouldn't own anything. What is ownership? Truly, what is ownership? What does it mean to own something when it's been there before you? It's so interesting, the nature of it. Like, human beings, we literally take it upon ourselves to go to something that's been here for eons, before the concept of time was even birthed, and we stake claim on it, and we'll kill for it. Survival of the fittest. I guess, that mentality. But I don't want to make this too long. So I ask you, the collective, you, the individual, you, the person, you, the ego, tune into the subtle frequencies around you, even in your synthetic reality, right? Because the split is happening. You have the organic, and then you'll have the synthetic. Neither are good nor evil. It is what it is. So the split, the division is happening. I've been fighting this for quite some time because I'm really one of wholeness and oneness. I don't like dualistic approaches to things, but you know, we live in a very dualistic dimension or reality or whatever you want to call it, I guess. But ask yourself what subtle energies that you're tuning into, and what these subtle energies are doing to you, and how they're manipulating you. Meaning, even when you're sitting down watching a Netflix TV show, ask yourself, what is this doing to me subtly, on a subtle level? Or when you're out in the park and you put your hands on a tree, ask yourself, the self, what is this doing to me on a subtle energetic level? How am I being manipulated? Because human beings can be so incredibly egotistical and so arrogant, I think, at times. And then, yes, I'm including myself in this because I am a being having a human experience. But I'm just being kind of, I don't know. It's interesting when you sort of take the time to tune in into the nature of things. But we kind of obsess about like how much control we have and how we're manipulating everything, but we never quite ask how our environments, how our land, the spirit of the land, right? The spirit of our homes, the things that we call shelter, things that we pay money for, the rent, the mortgage, property tax. We never quite ask how it's manipulating us, how it's shaping our own consciousness. We never ask the type of energies and energetic imprints that are left behind before we came to claim it. I'm going to end that message here. Thank you so much for opening yourself to my space and for hearing another message from the Dear Medicine and from Source, guided from Source. So thank you, my dear Silver Tree Seeds, for listening. Please be on the lookout for another release of a compilation of my music, Sounds of Silvertree, on my second YouTube channel. If you'd like a private reading with me, please leave a comment down below. It is offering-based service. I'm not charging any money. I don't feel called to do that at this moment. So, yes, if you feel guided or you want to connect with me on that level, please reach out. I would love to connect with you. May this message find you well and whole. Thank you.